Good morning, my name is Steve Faulkner. Welcome to Real Magic Review. I recorded this last night, so we're going to do a review of day 2, and I recorded it at like 12:30 last night, and thought, that's okay. I watched it back this morning and realised it was 27 minutes long. I've also realised that it's not just alcohol that makes you talk shit, it's tiredness, and it was indecipherable. Honestly, I was just going to post it. I was thinking, no, you don't need to watch it, just post it and it'll be all right, honestly. So I'm going to record it again. What the mistake I made is I watched everything yesterday and commented on everything and had a discussion about everything, and it was just way too long. So if I mention things today and I don't go into detail with them, it's not because I thought they were any less worthy of anything else, not that you're going to care, but it's just because some things I think warranted more discussion. So I'm going to go through the things that you missed if you weren't here. If you are here and you want to watch it later, it might be quite a nice thing to look back on. And do argue and all that, and disagree with me if you like, but be nice, don't roast me. So, God, thank God. So, before we go, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Check out cardmagiccourse.com. That would be lovely. That's my online course of over 200 videos. And there's some learner journeys on there, from complete beginners to advanced. There's second deals, bottom deals, all that kind of stuff. But let's get on with it. Okay, so you had this morning session with Laura London, hosted by Harry De Cruz. With Laura London, Gustav Kuhn, Harrison Greenbaum, or Baum, I'm not sure of the pronunciation still, which is terrible, I'm sorry, and a surprise guest, which was Dynamo and Dan Albion, Dynamo's manager. So Laura London's talk was lovely. It was a talk on, she's a magic historian, which I didn't realise. I've just actually recorded a review of her trick, The Crimson Deck, which will be out soon, and the review will be, I'll put it up next week if I can. But without going into detail on the talk, it was on the history of magic, and Mademoiselle Talmer, I think you pronounce it, Talmer, I think, is the spelling, but it might not be, and if you're a historian and you're just spitting at me at the moment, my apologies, but that's how it's kind of said. Really interesting story. The big thing for me was looking at pictures from like 90, I think this woman headlined the Hackney Empire in 1902 or something, and the Queen of Coins, and those sort of classic pictures we see of men doing coin magic and Midas Dream and all this kind of stuff. When you see a picture of a woman doing it, the thing that struck home for me was how unusual that was in 1902, and the fact that it's no less unusual now, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? It was a really interesting talk on a topic I'm not overly interested in, which is always a good sign, isn't it? It's just, I found it fascinating, and enjoyed Laura's passion and that thing of seeing someone travel the globe to find where people were born, and that's really contagious, so really enjoyed that. Then we had Gustav. So Gustav Kuhn is a scientist and a reader at Goldsmiths, and I worked with him. We did a talk many years ago on the science of magic, and I did the cups and balls to demonstrate, and he did the sciencey bit, and he is a magician. And what was very interesting was that he came in onto the stage and talked about how he was going to discuss how the science of magic could help magicians, and it was quite funny, or how science could help magicians, because around me I heard this kind of palpable kind of, oh yeah, see what you got, and very quickly everybody's right into it. It was fascinating, but not only fascinating, really important. I think to have science in magic, it's not to say this is the way to do it, it's to be a scientist and start questioning what we do, and I really think we should do that more. And, to talk about, we all talk about the classic force as being, the fairest force, but if you look at it scientifically, and they've done studies and asked lay people, without forcing a card, what felt like the fairer choice, and have these big graphs to say, actually, lay people mostly find the cross-cut force to be more fooling and more fair. So it really does shake things up. And, what he talked about goes into so much more depth, but the thing for me is a great talk, fascinating speaker. We have more of that in magic conventions. If we do, that would be a really good thing. Next up, we had, Dan Albion and Dynamo, which was a surprise it wasn't on the program, and they were talking about the new show coming up, got to say From Beyond then, Beyond Belief. Some clips of that looked really, really lovely, really loads of stuff from around the globe. It's not a globe-trotting thing. They're going to mix it up apparently and have like one episode will just be full of people, different countries, going to different countries. And they had this really nice thing where they cut the different countries in and showed reactions basically from across the globe from a magic trick, which I thought was brilliant. And always good to hear someone's story, like Dynamo's. He's come such a long way. And I always fascinated, even his growth in the last few years, and obviously his last couple of years where he's had different kind of challenges. And I think there wasn't a person in the room who doesn't find that interesting, whether you like TV magic or not. And then we had Harrison come back on. We talked about his show the night before, which I said divided people, and it was really good to see. It was, up to that point, one of the best things I think I'd seen at a magic convention. Just from the mix between laughing out loud and learning so much. And it was a passionate talk about how we can not suck so much, basically, which is very, a lot of us do. And hands up, I take tricks and I don't change them very much, and I do them at corporate events. And I see sometimes that creative process as being such a difficult and intimidating thing. And actually, he broke it down in a way that made me go, well, he said we're going to all write a joke together. So he told the audience very quickly how to write a joke, gave us a setup, and within 3 minutes, people were putting their hands up. Probably people that had never written a joke in their life, putting their hands up with a punchline that worked. Some of the jokes were better than others, but they all worked with the theory of the joke and got laughs. So, to come out of that, have a really, laugh my ass off for 20 minutes, and go, God, yes, we can do this. We've just got to have that mindset shift. It was just fascinating. I came out really, and I think most people came out discussing that whole session and the way. I mean, it's a great session because it just had so much. It had the history of magic, it had dynamo stuff, it had the science, which kind of mixed really well with Harrison's stuff because you're talking about theory and getting behind the kind of emotion of it and going, there is a way of looking at this objectively and raising our game, which is brilliant. Andy and Josh did talked about his time on the Tonight Show, the Jimmy Fallon thing, and juxtaposed that with his what's he called? I'm having a mental block of the other show he did that was really good, the James Corden one. And this T-shirt trick he did, which he demonstrated, which is so good. And every moment there's a reason why he does everything. And there's so many moments in this trick. And I'm not going to Google it. Have a look at Josh J. James Corden, and the story behind that, and that thing of trying to maintain creative control about something. I think was again very inspiring. And then Andy came on and did a really funny. I don't know how to describe it without making it not sound right, but just like a PowerPoint presentation that was really, really funny. It was like a 5-minute comedy act and based on real stuff, and which highlighted the idea of human greed to me and the human condition about you can do something really nice for someone and they just want more. And I'm sure he's developing this as an idea because it's a show that had callbacks. It worked as a kind of self-contained thing. And he did some good old sharing magic stuff, which was, here's a trick, I'll share it with you, I really like it, did some master push-off. So it's a good mix of everything. Dennis Bear, you will know his stuff if you like your card magic. It held me as a card magician in a lecture, which card magic doesn't usually. I've said it so many times, I need to be sitting there on my own really to learn. And I really like his DVD Magic on Tap, actually. A lot of stuff from there. The Herbert, is it Herbert? No, it's not, is it? But the elastic band thing, which if you haven't seen Dennis Bear's elastic band routine, which I can't remember the name, but it's just brilliant. And I'm not really a one for elastic band and cards. But then he did this haunted deck thing, which, we've all seen it, but it had more meaning because it was linked to the elastic band trick in a way, and it made me want to really, really learn that. It looked so magical. So much that I thought, is that a mechanical thing? Even though we all kind of, or a lot of us know how it's done, it just looks so clean and crisp. It's like, well, how is that cutting so cleanly? And then he showed us his setup for that, which I really want to go back and do. Rune Clan, there's this, what I didn't mention before is every day they're doing a live podcast recording. So they did a live recording of David Williamson the day before, which I didn't mention, which was really nice of him telling this quacky story. If you've not heard it, we'll listen to the podcast. Some really lovely, great storyteller as well as magician, David Williamson, as many people know. And then with Rune Clan, who's also a great storyteller. If you've not seen Rune's stuff, amazing to see. I saw him 10 years ago. He's in Denmark, he's Danish. He's got TV shows and all sorts, and his journey and how he's doing shows that have more sort of poignant meaning to him now because of his situation with his family. And that I always love seeing a bit of humanity in there, a bit of vulnerability, because we see so little of it sometimes in magic, I think. So that was a real joy to hear that story. So do listen to that podcast, The Insider, both of them, and I'm sure they're doing one today. Andrew Goldenhirsch, if you haven't seen, he takes classic tricks, basically pumps them up a bit, and so we had the Miser's Dream with a beautiful ending, the coin behind the ear, which had a very magical, almost weird, odd kind of finish, which is kind of what we see a lot, but done in a different way and done in a very fooling way. And he done a straight jacket escape at the end with a really good kicker. Tom Cosby Show, Tom, I haven't seen his show, and I remember seeing it at conventions years ago and not seeing him for a while, and then seeing his show yesterday and seeing something so sharp and so well written and so well scripted and rehearsed, but not in that kind of over-rehearsed way. He's got a really nice mix of being able to do lines that he's clearly got down but feel very natural, but also do feel like he's worked so hard on this. He looks very natural on stage. He's got his character absolutely nailed. It is him, but a version of him that is entertaining and funny, and every trick in it felt like his character. You know, sometimes when people have got character, they do the tricks, and you feel like they've kind of shoehorned them in. He's taken his passions, made a show based on his passions, and it just, for me, every second of it worked. There was a book test in it that I really enjoyed from beginning to end. And I do a book test, don't get me wrong, I love them, but I don't really like watching them usually because you kind of know where it's going. But it was just brilliant, and it felt so well directed, and it was just, if you get the chance to see Tom's show, if he's touring it or whatever, do get a chance. And he had the most brilliant pre-show bit, which was just genius, a way to get people hooked in, and the audience were just right into it to the point when the show started you had to kind of quiet them down, which was very deliberate, I think. Great use of music, by the way. I thought that he had a song in it that I thought wasn't going to fit with this blindfold Rubik's Cube routine, and then just was actually quite moving for some reason. I felt like that song had come from somewhere. Maybe it didn't, maybe it was just a nice song, but for me it was the lovely partnership he's got with his partner, who helps him with the show. It's just all that kind of bleeds into it, and it was just an absolute joy to see. Okay, I want to talk about Harrison Greenbaum, last night. So this journey on this, it's kind of like we've been on this journey with him. The first night it was like, he's really funny. Oh my God, can you say that? Maybe you can't say that. Maybe I don't like that you said that. And again, that divided the room. Yesterday morning when he did his thing, I really felt like it really brought, people were behind him, and you kind of learn who he was by then. And he did say, actually, you know, you've got to understand the people I slate, I love them. This is the kind of the point. And that really helped me. Not that you have to justify it, I don't think you should, but for me that did help. And it was like, oh right, I get, this is kind of like it's you, it's very much you, but it's definitely a character as well. And it's a good job, because last night, if he hadn't had the audience on his side, he did a roast. And if you've ever seen a comedy roast, the whole point of it, the context is, I'm going to write as many jokes as I can to slate you. That's the point of it. So with that context, there's also almost from a lot of people, a forgiveness, because we know that's what it's for. We know that's what you're doing. So for me, that was better than going, here's some jokes, and here's one really like, wow, where did that come from? A little bit from the first night. Well, you kind of knew where it came from, because by that time you knew it was him. But this was, okay, if you're going to be offended at this is what I'm going to do. Not that he said this, but this is kind of the lead up to this all day. So please don't stay if you're not going to enjoy this. And man, he just ripped into everybody. But the difference between a couple of those jokes, and maybe some of them last night actually, that I wasn't comfortable with, just nearly all of them were well-written jokes. He had sat there and written 25 pages of stuff to do in an hour, context specific of this magic convention that he will never do again. I'm sure he might take certain things, but the funniest, without a doubt, the funniest thing I've ever seen at a magic convention. I was in tears of laughter. There were still a couple of things that I really wasn't comfortable with. I don't really like, someone mentioned it last night about punching down. It's anything that people have no control over, whether it's illness, situation. I feel very uncomfortable with that. I'm not criticising it, saying you shouldn't do it, because I don't really think that's a valid point, a valid thing for me to say. But it was just about my own comfort, and there was a couple of moments where it went to a discomfort that wasn't enjoyable for me. But then it was kind of broke by something deeply hilarious. The Chris Angel thing was, if you saw it, was just, I couldn't stop. Every time I think about it, I laugh about it. It's just brilliant. And so deeply offensive if you are offended at those kind of things, but just funny, and a man that is probably the most skilled comedy writer I've seen at a magic convention, definitely, to the point where I was kind of seeing what, he started off by saying how he'd been rejected by all these comedy shows, and I can see that because I think he's a live performer, but he roasted himself. That's a really important thing. And again said, if I roast you now, you've got to understand it's because I love you. And I really like that. So my feeling is, just to sum up, because a lot of people come up to me and said, I'm really interested in what you think about this, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was inspirational how you can write that much stuff. How you can, the visuals he had worked just in a comedic way. So he's a visual comedian as well. He just, every sense, you made you feel something about stuff. He made you laugh at what you were seeing and what you were hearing, and just a stunning all-round entertainer, but not for those easily offended. And was I offended a couple of times? Probably, but I kind of forgave it because of the work that had gone into it. So that's my opinion. If you get a chance to watch it, I would watch it, and just look at the skill of the man. It's brilliant, and the magician as well. Amazing. So that's my roundup. Very long, very rambly. Thanks very much. All opinions, I'd love to hear your opinion about stuff. They are very valid. Be nice, don't roast me. I was thinking, God, if one day my reviews get well known enough, because he did a thing about the worst review of the year or whatever, which was so good. And I thought, God, if I ever get enough watches to get roasted, I'd give up. I'd be like, no, I don't want to do it anymore, because I'd be pathetic. I couldn't handle it. So good one. Dynamo had to take a fair bit. So have a great one. Thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, go to magic conventions, talk to human beings. It really is lovely. And thanks very much. Cheers.